just by way of introduction then, what I would like to do is just to invite Stuart Buchanan to give us the welcoming address this morning. Stuart is the head of Children and Family Services at YMCA Dublin. Stuart is also current PlayBoard chairperson and has been part of a member of the PlayBoard board for a number of years now. So we felt that given Stuart's unique position, really operating both north and south of the border, it would be a good opportunity for Stuart to welcome you all to this morning's session as we kick things off. Thanks, Stuart.
Alan, thank you for your words, and folks, welcome to this seminar. We hope you enjoy the session this morning. What you are going to hear today, we'll have a number of speakers who will be collectively telling you about a number of approaches that PlayBoard uses, but all of those approaches are supporting the development of quality play opportunities for children and young people across our island. So over the past number of years, PlayBoard has been repeatedly responding to requests for play support in the south. So we have been working in Wexford, Dublin, Cork, Kerry, Tralee, Donegal and Monaghan, and those various types of support have included play strategy development, training and guidance then on developing play areas and play delivery. And we now have a PlayBoard officer, Michelle McGee, who is based in Monaghan. And I know Michelle is going to be telling you more about the work that she has been progressing later on in this session. Before I hand over to those speakers, just by way of context, I think it's important just to highlight again the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, and in particular, the recent UN concluding observations for Ireland relating to Article 36. And that's the piece that deals with rest, leisure, recreation, and cultural and artistic activities. So I'm just going to read what that committee has recommended that the Irish state needs to address. So the first of those is to strengthen support for initiatives aimed at promoting the child's right to leisure, play, recreational activities, cultural life, and the arts. The second of those is to ensure that those activities are available and accessible for girls, children with disabilities, asylum-seeking and migrant children, and socioeconomically disadvantaged children. And the third and final of those recommendations was the need to fully involve children in the planning, the designing, the monitoring, and the implementation of relevant policies and procedures. So on the back of that, and very much in PlayBoard, we do believe that every child, regardless of their background or their community where they live, has that right to play. So that being said, folks, we're absolutely delighted to have all of you gathered with us today. Yes, we're virtual, but we are in the room together. Really want to thank you for taking the time to attend the session. And I suppose we really hope that you find it useful. And our main hope is that together, collectively, we'll be able to work in partnership to progress the play agenda across the island. Alan has done some of the housekeeping for you already. Just one piece I want to add. If you're a user of Twitter, please feel free to tweet during or after the session. But if we would ask you, if you're doing so, if you could use the Twitter hashtag #ProgressingPlay in Ireland. So again, I just want to extend the Board of PlayBoard's welcome to you to this session. So we hope you can relax and you can enjoy it. So I'll hand back to you, Alan, and you can take us from there.
That's great, Stuart. Thank you for that introduction. Folks, I mean, we do have quite a bit to fit in today, but as I say, really what we wanted to do with this initial session was to basically have a more general information session, and then hopefully the plan will be beyond this. We will, run a number of additional seminars and sessions and so on. So we'll move into the more formal side of the morning's agenda. I'll just share the screen here. We will kick things off. Okay, folks. So what I'm going to do first of all, I just want to give you a wee bit of a background about PlayBoard. itself. Some of you, I know from looking at the guest list, will be familiar with the work of PlayBoard. Some of you will have worked with us in the past, but really just to give you a bit of a sense, I suppose, of where we're coming from, how long we've been in operation. So we are the lead organisation for children's play in Northern Ireland, albeit that we do work within the Republic of Ireland. We were established in 1985, so coming up on I think our 40th anniversary. So we've been around for quite a while now, working with communities, with government, and within schools and with youth organisations. PlayBoard's vision is of a society where the right to play is both valued and realised. And I suppose, in the next part of the session, we'll be looking at the importance of play, and we'll also be looking at, as Stuart has referenced, the UN Convention on the Rights of Children, which focuses in on the importance of play itself as a developmental mechanism. We're keen to ensure that, yes, governments have signed up to the UNCRC, but the reality is that play sometimes can be viewed in a very superficial manner. What we as an organisation want to do is to ensure that play is recognised for its importance within society. As an organisation, we deliver a broad range of play programmes. So we work in schools, we work with local councils, we work at community level, both in Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. And fundamentally, our work is really around promoting and advocating play as a key means of developing physical, mental and emotional health for children and young people. And again, we'll go into a bit more detail really around the importance of play and why play is so critical in children and young people's lives shortly. We do provide expertise and guidance at a regional and local government level. So we have supported the development of play strategies at local council level, but we also led on the development of Northern Ireland's first ever play strategy and first ever play and leisure implementation plan back in 2011. And finally, as an organisation, we also have a UK and international influence through the Four Nations Play Policy Group and the International Play Association. So that gives you a wee bit of a background to PlayBoard, really, just in terms of setting up the context for the morning. Now, before we go into something a bit more formal, something we tend to like to do within PlayBoard, we do this certainly when we meet face to face, but we also do this virtually, and it's really just to try to put us all in a bit of a playful mindset, just in terms of who we are as adults and what we gain from play. So we just want to do a very quick play memories exercise with you. Don't worry, we're not going to ask anyone to report back. We're not going to ask you to unmute yourselves or anything, but we would ask you to use the chat function if there's anything you want to share with us. And really what we want to do is just take a very quick minute just to think about your own play, so your own childhood play. Take yourself back to when you were that young child enjoying your play, and think about where were you playing? Were you indoors, were you outdoors? If you were outdoors, where were you? Put yourself back there, think about what the weather was like, what was the environment like, and also think about the activities you were doing. Who else was with you? And is there anything you feel you gained through that play experience as a child? Anything you feel helped you in your development as you developed and as you grew into the adult you have become? So just take a quick minute, as I say, just think about it, and then as things come to mind, if you could fire them into the chat, that will be really useful, and we'll get a sense of what people are saying shortly. Okay, folks, thank you for that. Really do appreciate that. And it's really just, as I say, to try to put us into a bit of a bit of a playful mood, a bit of a playful mode as we discuss various topics this morning. What I'd like to do now is just ask Angela, one of my colleagues, you'll be hearing more from later, but just to maybe pull out some of the key points coming through the chat, just to give us a sense of what people were reporting in on.
Okay, so we were seeing things like sunny weather, lots of sunshine, being outdoors, lots of people saying about being outdoors, doing things that they shouldn't maybe be doing, being alone, often people are saying there were no adults around, street games, street lights were the curfew, that was time to go home when the street lights came on. Lots of building forts, playing football, hunt, building dens, that kind of thing.
That's great, Angela. Thank you. And thank you for that, folks. And feel free to keep populating the chat there as things come to mind. But again, as I say, it's really just to give a wee bit of a sense, I suppose, of what your own experiences of play were like. Okay, so I'm going to just, over the next couple of minutes, just look at a couple of, I suppose key setting up issues really. So first of all, looking at, what do we mean by play itself? And look, there are lots of, different theoretical definitions of what play is. And, the majority of them really focus around play being freely chosen. So it's very much about self-determined activity. There's no predetermined outcome. It's something that children do really because it's what they choose to do at that moment in time. It's very much personally directed. So there's limited or no adult involvement. And again, thinking about the chat, we saw people mentioning there that there were no adults involved. And again, what we find in today's society is increasingly play for many children would be more adult driven, adult focused. And it's intrinsically motivated. So play is spontaneous. It can happen anywhere. We know that children will play with whatever environment they find themselves within. They will find something to do, something playful, and they'll engage with any environment they're in a playful manner. Probably the most critical thing, play is fun. Yes, we know play is developmentally important. We know it supports child development, physically, mentally, emotionally, etc. But fundamentally, it's fun. And it also provides children with, access to new opportunities. But it's also challenging for children. It allows them to challenge themselves, challenge their own abilities, and it's also sociable. And fundamentally and importantly, it's repeatable. It allows children to repeat that process and to improve time on time. Critically, really, we need to make sure that when we think of play, we're not just thinking about formal playgrounds, so we need to be thinking about play in its widest sense and play environments in their broadest context. So we need to be thinking about housing areas, green spaces. We need to be thinking about our public and community spaces, our urban town centres, and how those actually lend themselves to supporting that desire for children to play, that intrinsic motivation, that desire to play in a spontaneous manner. Okay, so why play? Why is play so important? Why are we all here today looking at play? Well, and this is not, there's nothing groundbreaking here. This is all fairly standard in terms of our understanding of play. Obviously play offers physical challenge, and through that enhances physical fitness and health. It allows children to be outdoors. It allows them to develop, those gross and fine motor skills through movement and through activity. We also know that play supports good mental health. We know as adults, when we play through our recreation, it's a good way of controlling and combating stress. But we also know for children that play is a fundamental part of the development of resilience. It allows them to develop the life skills and to be able to cope with some of the challenges that life throws at them. Play again within the early years in particular is fundamental to supporting cognitive development. Really within those formative years, play is the mechanism through which children develop their intellectual capacity. They develop their self-confidence and they develop their desire and their urge to be more creative. And we also know that play enhances learning skills and language. Again, there's a vast body of research out there highlighting the critical importance of play. And play is fundamentally a social activity as well. So it provides children with that, in some cases, the first opportunity to engage with others, to engage with peers, and to engage with peers in not always comfortable situations. So, for example, to maybe have the first time they experience conflict over a play activity, over a play type, or over a piece of play equipment. And also importantly, it provides children with exposure to risk and challenge. So it allows them to challenge themselves, it allows them to push their abilities, it allows them to understand risk and their capacity to actually deal with risk, which is fundamentally important as they grow older into adulthood. Stuart mentioned the UNCRC and the right to play. So, just as a very brief background, Article 31, which was ratified in the Republic of Ireland in 1992, basically highlights state parties recognise the right of the child to rest and leisure, to engage in play and recreational activities appropriate to the age of the child. The right to play, for many commentators, is viewed as one of the fundamental rights of childhood. It's the one right which really all children, regardless of the circumstances they find themselves in, should be entitled to. And that was emphasised in 2013 by the UN's General Comment 17, which really highlighted the critical importance of play. You know, it highlighted that it was essential to health and well-being, supports social connectivity, supports and enhances learning, and within a divided society perspective, it contributes to a mutual understanding of cross-community understanding. And Stuart's mentioned, I won't go into detail, but he mentioned the UN's concluding observations from Ireland have only recently come out, you know, and they focus on strengthening support for initiatives aimed at promoting play, you know, ensuring that play activities are accessible and available for all, and that children are fully involved and participatory within the processes themselves. Okay, so we know that play is important from an individual developmental perspective. We know there's a UN imperative there in terms of promoting and focusing in on play. But our children increasingly face a whole range of different barriers to play and being able to fulfill their right to play. Those barriers, again, will for many of you be quite, you know, they'll be quite common. You know, access to play. We know that in many communities there's a lack of access to and conflicts over spaces and places that children and young people would seek to use for play. We know that, you know, we have busy lives now. We know there's an increasing time pressure and constraints associated, particularly for parents in supporting children's play. And we also know that despite some progress in recent years, there remain limited opportunities for inclusion and integration of children with disabilities and additional needs. In terms of sedentary lifestyles, you know, we have seen the growth of technology, and we know that COVID-19 has had an impact in terms of reducing access to physical play opportunities, and we are still dealing with that to some degree. And for older children, so those who maybe are moving into the teenage years, we know that increasing costs and transport restrictions can be a particular barrier, particularly for those who live in more rural communities where access to transport, if they don't have ready access to public transport, they may find that their play and recreation activities are severely limited. And of course, we have parental fears. You know, we live in a very risk-averse society, and parents are concerned, obviously, about ensuring their children do not come to harm. So we have a lot of concerns around perceived stranger danger, risk of injury, etc., which quite often acts to limit children's access to play opportunities. Just very briefly, in terms of COVID, you know, a piece of research we carried out in Northern Ireland really highlighted the impact of COVID, in particular COVID lockdowns, in terms of play. You know, so when we spoke to children and young people aged between 4 and 18, you know, what they reported was, you know, during lockdown and coming out of lockdown, there was a significant decline in active play. We saw that increase in sedentary tech-based play and the almost complete collapse of social play. And the real concern as we move forward and as we move out of COVID is that for that group of children who experienced that, you know, the difficulties they face will continue to remain with them because of the play opportunities that were effectively denied to them. Okay, so that brings me to the focus for the session, and really I suppose what we want to do, we want to focus in on progressing play. How do we progress play? So over the coming hour and a half or so, we have a number of contributors, and they will talk about, you know, how we incorporate, how we develop, and how we embed play within a number of settings. So, you know, we look at schools, we look at school-age childcare, we look at youth settings, play and community, and we look at sports as well. And also we look at the role of play strategies and how developing play strategies can help to enhance play activity. And we'll also then look at some of the emerging cross-border learning coming through, particularly through our officer Michelle, who's based in Monaghan. So I would now like to pass you over to my colleague Angela, who will take us through the next part of the session. Thank you.
Hi everybody, as if by magic we're playing musical chairs here. You'll see us doing that throughout the session. We're all lined up ready to go, so hi. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of our work with schools, with play-based school-age childcare settings, with youth services and with councils and communities. So starting with schools, we have 2 wonderful projects. Positive Playgrounds, which has been delivered in over 300 primary schools in Northern Ireland, and our Taking Outdoor Play Seriously Quality Assurance Award, which is also known as TOPS. So you'll hear me refer to TOPS as we go through. So Positive Playgrounds supports schools to reassess their use of their school playground as a means of enhancing play-based development and learning, And they do that through environmental assessment and training. Teaching and non-teaching staff are supported to explore a range of issues, including play theory, play types, playground policy, and the playground environment. And through the staff training, the programme supports schools to develop strategies that encourages the availability of a range of play types within the school, enhancing opportunities for play. It's delivered over one full training session and includes an additional baseline audit, which determines the current playability within the school playground or playgrounds. And we normally find that positive playgrounds provide schools with a natural starting point for the enhancement of play, and it often leads to their progression into the more intense Taking Outdoor Play Seriously award. So the TOPS Quality Assurance Programme is a more intensive programme, as I've said, and it takes place over a whole school academic year, and it involves a whole school approach. So that includes children, parents and families, staff, and the wider school community. TOPS aims to deliver systematic change, and that's why we take it right through a school year. It supports schools to transform their underlying culture and ethos, placing play at the core of children's education and development. And through a range of approaches such as staff training, play audits, participation work with pupils, engagement with parents and so on, the programme enables schools to embed play and transform their outdoor spaces for play. And as such, it supports curricular learning, enhances physical and mental health and well-being. It supports skills development and enhances social connectivity. And of course, it provides fun for the children, which is what we're all about. At the end of the TOPS journey, each school is reviewed by an independent assessor. And that assessor's role is to assess the degree to which the school have met key underlying requirements that we expect to see throughout the programme. So that's in terms of the embedding of play within the cultural fabric of the school, the level of transformation that the school has achieved, the establishment of participative structures so that children have an ongoing role within the school as it develops its play, and the establishment of connections to parents and carers and that wider school community. Both Positive Playgrounds and TOPS are endorsed by our Department of Education here in Northern Ireland, and we were funded last year through COVID recovery monies to deliver both of them to schools. So as you've been hearing, Alan's been talking about play, and we know that play is one of the main mechanisms that children use to learn about the world around them. And the importance of schools as environments for play really can't be underestimated. For many children, the school playground is the only open, accessible place available to them on a regular basis. So we always say our mantra is that if that's the only space that some children have to play, we as adults need to make those spaces the best possible spaces that they can be for our children. So you'll see on the screen 2 images. If you were 8 or 9 or 10 years old, which one would you prefer? I think I know your answer. So the picture at the bottom is the transformation we see when we work with schools. They go from the bland grey tarmac space to fun, playable spaces for children. We also support the play-based school-age childcare sector in Northern Ireland and administer and monitor Northern Ireland Executive Bright Start funding to projects. We provide training and advice and support to the sector and represent their interests at a strategic level through ongoing engagement with government departments and national groupings. We provide training and support on a range of issues, including play, minimum standards and inspection, quality and business support. We also provide a range of informative resources and publications of benefit to childcare settings. We offer networking opportunities through cluster support mechanisms and a newly established school-age childcare forum. And we work with the Health and Social Care Trusts here in Northern Ireland and the childcare partnerships to ensure that the needs of the sector are always met. Our Youth at Play programme is built on a recognition that play is the most effective mechanism for engaging with children and young people within youth settings. And really we're talking about those 9 to 13-year-olds or younger. And the programme was established as a result of an increase in the number of those young children who were attending youth services over recent years. Youth work qualifications here have typically focused on the 13+ age group. So the Youth at Play programme sets out to enhance opportunities to develop knowledge towards a better understanding of play work and play-based approaches. So it really bridges the two, it bridges youth work and play work. The training, which is accredited through OCN, is delivered at level 2 for part-time youth workers and at level 3 for full-time staff. And we also have a Youth at Play volunteer training programme, which is aimed at the 13 to 18-year-olds who attend settings. And the last slide from me. We also have a play work team within PlayBoard who deliver a range of play sessions within communities. And that work is normally done for our councils or local authorities. So you'll see here some images of some of that work. We deliver play in parks or green spaces aimed at reclaiming spaces for play. We deliver cross-community play events, intergenerational play for old and younger people. We have a street play programme, which also includes training for community representatives and a practical toolkit for parents. And we provide pop-up play sessions within town centres. So that is some of what we do. So that was a whistle-stop tour of some of our work. I'm now going to hand you over to Catherine Lindsay Dunlop, who's going to take you through the next little section.
Hi everyone, I believe you were just having some connection issues there, so apologies on the crackling and the pausing. Hopefully, we are working on it, so hopefully it will rectify itself as we go on. Sorry, apologies, just 2 seconds. Technical support, there we go. So as Angela said there, my name is Catherine. I'm the Service Delivery and Development Coordinator at PlayBoard, and I'm here to tell you a wee bit about the Our Generation project. So the Our Generation project is a wider cross-border project, and it's made up of 7 partner organisations, some of which are based in the south. As part of this, PlayBoard has developed the Spaces to Be programme, which began 3 years ago at the very start of lockdown. In the face of adversity, the team adapted and moulded the programme to meet emerging need and barriers caused by the pandemic, namely the impact on already existing levels of ill mental health in children and young people and the decreased play and social opportunities available to children. Again, exacerbating the existing issue of growing levels of play deprivation. I'm sure you can appreciate this was no mean feat, and we are proud of the reach that we have achieved. By the end of the project, we expect to reach over 1,000 children, 200 parents, and around 300 practitioners. If you're interested in these statistics and the progression of learning, our partners, Ulster University, have undertaken a large research study, of which I can share the results with you upon request. So what is Spaces to Be? Well, it's a unique programme which advocates for the child's right to play as a means of supporting mental health and resilience and positively addressing difference. At PlayBoard, we recognise that a holistic approach is essential to ensuring systematic change. So the programme, therefore, takes a 3-pronged approach by providing training for practitioners, workshops for parents and carers, and of course, play sessions for the children and the practitioners working with them. This provides not only play opportunities for children, but practical experiences for the practitioners to implement learning. Through play, we can explore key messages on complex topics such as mental health, diversity and inclusion with children as young as 4 years old. By taking a holistic approach, the child not only learns firsthand, but is engulfed in the same approach and messages from the adults that surround them. We feel this is the best way to build on children's resilience, positive well-being, and supports children become diverse and inclusive thinkers. Of course, at the core of our Spaces to Be programme are the children themselves. During the play sessions, we provide a diverse range of play experiences, some a little more structured, but still freely chosen, and of course a lot of free play, which were broken up into the topics that you see here. Play in itself is a very unique activity. It allows children to experience a wide range of emotions within a short space of time and to figure out how to manage these emotions. Play provides children with a safe and non-judgmental space to explore and work through some of their emotions and experiences that they've had throughout their lives. This increases emotional intelligence, which can be a strong predictor of success in relationships, health, and quality of life. Children with higher emotional intelligence are more likely to pay attention and be engaged in school. They are also able to regulate their emotions better and achieve better academically. To ensure the child gets the most from the experience that we provide, we encourage adults to use a dynamic risk-benefit assessment to allow the children to explore and experiment with, amongst other things, risky play, taking part in challenging conversations, and empowering them to take control of their own play by making decisions, managing their own risk, and resolving their own conflicts and challenges. We also advocate for both practitioners and parents to ensure that children are given the time, space, and permission to play. Play is universal. Play is innate. Every child knows how to play, making it the perfect medium for children to come together in spite of perceived differences. In play, all children are equal. Race, religion, age, gender, it doesn't matter. In play, we have the ability to become whoever we want to be, and through play, we develop an understanding of what it's like to be someone different, which introduces empathy and perspective taking at a young age. As previously stated, play provides a safe and non-judgmental space, which enables children to not only explore how the world works, but supports them to have an understanding of community, giving them a sense of belonging and an understanding of who they and others are. These are some examples of the types of play that children did during the programme. Of course, outside has so many benefits, particularly to our mental health and physical health. So as you can see, we do try to get them outside as much as possible. And as we're always saying, there's no such thing as bad weather, it's just inappropriate clothing. During the session, we also include as much free play as possible, but in order to address the topics covered, we also use invitations to play. These are a specific set of resources attractively laid out to encourage play which relates to the intended topics of conversation. Again, some more examples. So you can see that we really do encourage that risky play of building obstacle courses themselves. They've got the height, they've got the unstable surfaces. Again, in this top middle one there, this is a cross-community session that they were playing a tug of war. And as you can see, the teams are made up of children from the different communities. Loose parts feature heavily throughout our programme. These not only enable children to be creative, but use their imagination and practice physical skills. It enables children to explore their world and work through their experiences. This, alongside some of our invitations to play, have been quite challenging due to the controversial nature. As you can see, children have created a lot of guns, shields, balaclavas, and they were able to identify things like flags that they see within their environment. At first, this was an outright no in a lot of the settings because of the controversial nature. However, through our training and play sessions, practitioners and setting managers grew in confidence and were able to utilise the dynamic risk-benefit assessment to change their own mindsets in having challenging conversations and supporting children to explore a diverse range of lived experiences through play. Through play, we also help children not only to understand their emotions, but to recognise the signs and develop healthy coping mechanisms and identify safe adults to approach to support them. These are some of the examples of the things that they did during this. So as you can see, the Coke and Mentos was a representation of how anger builds and then explodes. They did various different artwork to explore emotions. They built stress balls and glitter bottles. But this one here, I just loved. So this actually was a result of a teacher taking part in our practitioner training. And as a result of that, she then did a class around resilience and set the children homework to draw a picture of what resilience looked like to them. So it says, I bounce back, now I help others. I am brave, I am strong, I can do it, I am resilient. And for me, that just sums up everything. So throughout the programme, we had some fantastic feedback from the parents, practitioners, but most importantly, we gave the children a voice to hear what they had to say. I would love to play these videos for you, but unfortunately, we just don't have the time to do it. So I strongly encourage you to take a look at our testimony videos to hear firsthand about how the programme has supported children to increase their emotional literacy, increase their confidence, and gain an understanding of inclusion and diversity. During the testimony videos, you'll also hear how the programme has supported parents to understand the importance of play and how practitioners have made significant changes to their practice in order to increase play provision to further improve outcomes for children. Thanks for your time, and hopefully those internet connections have resolved themselves. And I'll now pass you over to Aidan, who'll talk to you a wee bit about play and physical activity.
Yeah, thanks, Catherine. Yeah, folks, so the next couple of slides, I'm just going to take you through a wee bit of our work around sort of physical activity, play and sport, and how we link that all together. So there's two main things that I'm really going to talk about today. The first is free play. So really, in terms of ensuring children and young people get that all-important 60 minutes moderate to vigorous physical activity per day, for us, the place to start is play, more so free play, active and physical play. So free play really is a concept of children controlling the content of their own play for their own reasons. In free play, children get the most play value, and the most play benefits will come from free play than other types of play. So at PlayBoard, we do adult-led activities, but what we really find is it's in that free play sessions that children are motivated to actually play for longer. And to be honest, they actually have more fun as well within the free play sessions. This free model can be used by the likes of national government bodies. It can be used by PE teachers, sports coaches, really anyone who delivers sport and physical activity sessions with children as a way to help develop that all-important intrinsic motivation that children need to continue to participate in physical activity. So the second approach we use then, as a children's rights organisation, we believe in facilitating the voice of children, and this is a model that I would use developed by Professor Laura Lundy for the Children's Coaching Collaborative, basically as a framework for sports coaches to capture the voices of children and young people, and it links, as you can see, to Article 12 of the UNCRC, which Alan has already sort of alluded to. But it really can be used by anyone who works with children to encourage participation and champion the voice and the rights of children and young people in sport and physical activity. So the first one, you have space, and really what this is, it's about giving children a safe space to express their views. The second one then is a voice. It's children and young people actually being allowed to express that view. Then we lead on to audience, which is really all around having their voices actually listened to by adults. And the final one then is influence. So it's really about the adults listening to what they've been told by the children and young people, and then enacting those as appropriate or as they see fit. So again, for us at PlayBoard, it's not about taking full control over absolutely everything that happens within our physical play or active play sessions. And research has actually shown the critical need to actually involve children within the decision-making process. Giving them some sort of ownership and control has a major influence in harnessing that intrinsic motivation that children will need to keep participating within sport and physical activity as well. So for us guys then, these two approaches for us lay the building blocks needed to assist with the development of physical literacy. So some of you here, probably most of you here from a sport and physical activity background, will be familiar with the All-Ireland Physical Literacy Consensus Statement that was released in October. And basically, physical literacy is having that ability to perform fundamental and specialised movement skills such as running, jumping, throwing, kicking, catching. I would add in other things like landing, twisting, turning, changing direction, all the skills that children need to master and develop before they even need to worry about those specialised sports-specific skills. So at PlayBoard, we're well aware that all children don't want to participate in sport, but all children need to be physically active. They need to play for their health and their overall holistic development. So physical activity, physical literacy, it isn't about everyone, becoming an elite athlete. It's about developing the skills and awareness needed to encourage children and young people to be physically active throughout their lifespan at whatever level they want to participate at. And in play, that lays the foundations for children to master those fundamental movement skills to become physically literate. In play, more so you're active in your physical play, long before children are ever introduced to sports programs or PE within schools, and they can start to build those skills independently to become physically literate. And research has shown that physically literate children are actually more likely to take part in sport and physical activity throughout their lifespan as well. So at PlayBoard, we believe that using free play giving children a voice that will help foster and develop that love of sport, that love of physical activity, is going to encourage them to develop that physical literacy. So it's really with that mix and finding that balance of free play that's fun, that's engaging for children, that increases their motivation, increases their confidence. But it's also with giving them a voice and having that voice listened to, allowing them to take that wee bit of ownership and a wee bit of sense of control that harnesses that intrinsic motivation that's going to encourage them to continue to be physically active. So guys, the final slide from myself then is, so how do we really do this at PlayBoard? Well, we deliver play sessions with specific aims of developing physically active children. So we deliver theory, we also deliver practical-based education workshops and seminars to a wide range of audiences, and Alan sort of already alluded who we work with at the start. So some of the workshops that I have delivered is with the Northern Ireland Childcare Partnership. We also have the Department of Education within Northern Ireland's They're Getting Ready to Learn project as well, which is really developing physical and active play educational workshops to early years and school-age childcare sectors, which would be basically early years is your 0 to 4, school-age childcare would be 4 to 11-year-old, and it's working with teachers and after-schools practitioners and training them on the importance of physical and active play for children and young people within their settings, and actually showing them how to incorporate more physical, more active play within their settings as well. We also had inquiries from national governing bodies of sport such as Athletics NI, Cricket Ireland, and a few others about potentially play training for their coaches as well. It's another avenue that we're pursuing. PlayBoard and Technological University Dublin also have a partnership, a research partnership in the form of a master's level research project, where the aims are to essentially research the links between physical activity, play, and children and young people's sport as well. We also have an international influence, delivering webinars on the International Play Association's highly popular webinar series, which is participants from all over the world, right through from Canada to South America, into Europe, to Australia and New Zealand as well. And we've also delivered and presented our work at the recent 22nd IPA World Conference, which is held in Glasgow there in June past. And finally, we also have a bit of an international delivery. We've delivered at the National Sports and Physical Activity Convention in Australia last year, and we'll also be delivering this year, which is essentially the leading sport and physical activity convention within Australia and New Zealand. So that's all from me, guys. I'm just going to hand you back over to Lala now. Thanks very much.
Okay, folks, thank you, Aidan, for that, looking at the importance of play really as a, and I think it is becoming increasingly recognised that, you know, play is a fundamental part of not only children and young people's developing physical activity levels, but also in terms of preparing them for potentially moving into more of a formalised sporting arena. So, you know, there are lots of different areas in which play is particularly relevant. Hopefully, folks, I know we were having some issues with signal and sound. Hopefully those have sorted themselves out. I think we're stable at the moment. Apologies for that. If I know it was particularly seemed to be causing an issue during Angela's presentation. If anyone has a particular queries or questions around that, listen, we're more than happy to pick those up after the session as well. So just to let you know, we're more than open to having those further conversations. What I want to look at now, because we've seen, you know, we've seen about the importance of play and different approaches to delivering play and enhancing play opportunities within schools, within communities, and within the sporting arena as well. What I want to look at now is really about the importance, the critical importance of developing strategies for play and strategies that really support and enhance children's access to play opportunities. So, you know, when we talk about play strategies, you know, you mentioned the strategy word, you know, people tend to get a wee bit, oh no, here we go, this is going to be extremely, you know, extremely dull, extremely boring. And it may well be extremely dull and extremely boring, but the reality is, unless we have coherent play strategies in place, we will not be able to offer, you know, the level of targeted impact that we're hoping for in terms of supporting children and young people to access critically important play opportunities. So why develop a play strategy? I mean, I think, you know, the first thing is it establishes an agreed approach. And, you know, traditionally play strategies have, certainly in Northern Ireland, have tended to be based within council areas, and they've tended to be led by councils. And that's primarily because councils have been the key organisation really delivering play through fixed playgrounds. In other words, you know, play parks with swings, roundabouts, you know, the usual climbing frames and so on, climbing and various climbing objects. So councils have tended to take a lead in terms of developing strategies. And from a council perspective, the strategy is critical because it does establish that agreed approach within council. So in the past, what we've seen is, councils have tended to adopt a bit of a piecemeal approach or a bit of a reactive approach. The strategy allows them to agree that an approach to being more proactive in terms of meeting play needs. Important as well in terms of the strategy can agree an approach to design in line with good practice. And like all arenas, the play world changes on a regular basis. There are new innovations, there are new developments within the field, whether that be within fixed play or non-fixed play. So again, the strategy allows council to really establish a baseline of where they are in terms of good practice. Strategies are also important for play in that they provide a mechanism for undertaking a regular review of where we are as a society in terms of play. Now in some countries, the likes of Wales and Scotland, they have taken it to probably the level we would like to move towards in terms, certainly Northern Ireland, and I think within Ireland, and that's around a play sufficiency approach. So having that regular review to ensure that children, young people and communities have access to the types of play that are going to support them and to meet their growing needs as they develop through childhood into adulthood. The important thing as well is, and again, traditionally play strategies have tended to focus on fixed play. So they've very much been focused on the development of play parks, with the swings, the roundabouts, the play equipment effectively. But what a play strategy allows you to do is to think a bit more broader. It allows you to move beyond thinking about fixed play and consider how you can perhaps support non-fixed play approaches. So by non-fixed, we're talking about those community-based play initiatives, the types of programs, we've seen some examples of already today, but it allows councils and other stakeholders to put a focus on both fixed and non-fixed, which ultimately provides children with more choice in terms of the play types they are able to access. Critically as well, the play strategy allows for the embedding of a partnership-based approach. And again, councils, certainly in Northern Ireland, whilst they have traditionally taken on responsibility for delivering play through fixed play parks, we're conscious that there are so many other organisations who have a role and an impact in terms of play, whether that be from our schools, childcare providers, whether it be our sporting clubs, sporting groups, whether it be community organisations. So again, a strategy allows for the development of a partnership-based approach and potentially opening up for example, new resource opportunities, funding opportunities, but also it opens up new areas of development for children in terms of how they access play. So what really are the outcomes you're looking for within the strategy? Well, fundamentally, a play strategy allows for targeted investment in areas of highest play need. And we'll look a wee bit more into that in detail shortly in terms of that. But it does allow for councils or partnerships to really focus and target that investment, which is increasingly coming more challenging to actually get, but it allows you to target that investment where it's really needed. Strategy also allows for the development of a formalised process for the enhancement of play parks with a focus on delivering high play value experiences for all ages and abilities. So again, in the past, perhaps fixed play park development in particular has been very much a budget-led exercise. So in other words, you had a budget for a play park, you would look at what you could potentially fund through that budget, and that basically made up, for what the play park looked like, with very little reference to what the play value was of the material and the equipment you were putting into it. So again, the play strategy allows for that consideration of play value to be right at the core of the process. Play strategies also allow for the development and support of that participative approach. If referencing back to the UN comments where they highlighted the importance of children and young people being involved within play initiatives and play programs. Again, a strategy allows for the formalization of a participative approach that really helps to ensure that children and young people are in many ways leading the development of play that meets their needs. But it also then allows parents and communities to also have a voice in terms of developing play at a local community level. I've referenced already the play strategy allowing for the development of a broadened portfolio of approaches. So the introduction of those non-fixed or community-based play approaches. What we know is that, whilst fixed play parks with swings, roundabouts, etc., have an important role in terms of play, they're not the be all and end all. And we also know that in many instances, children do prefer the free play or the community-based play, simply because it allows them to take a greater degree of control and charge over their play experience. So again, it allows for that broad portfolio of approaches. And again, where you have a play strategy, it also allows us to open up a conversation with the broader community in terms of the importance of play, because again, we do still see within communities a lack of tolerance of children at play. Quite often we would hear about police perhaps being called out because children are outdoors playing, not necessarily doing anything antisocial or involved in any activity, but because some of the adults in the community feel that the noise is intruding or whatever, so it allows a conversation to take place around why play is important and how we as a society have a responsibility to really support children to be able to play wherever they are, whether that be at home, whether that be within town centres, urban centres, schools, childcare, etc. So in terms of developing a play strategy, what are the key components within it? Within PlayBoard, we've supported the development of a number of play strategies within Northern Ireland and indeed the Republic of Ireland. And there are a number of, I suppose, what we would see as key core components within them, key elements that really need to be there. Some of these will be fairly, straightforward in terms of what I've already outlined, but that broad-based strategic policy review. So really ensuring that the play strategy at a localized level is embedded within the international, the national, and the local frameworks, and really pays cognizance not only to, for example, council policies or strategies, but it embeds and it brings in education strategies, brings in community strategies, it brings in childcare strategies, it brings in all of those other elements that impact on children and young people's right to play. A critical element of it, again, sort of harking back to that importance of partnership, is providing a basis for strategic stakeholder engagement. So as I say, traditionally in the past, strategies have tended to have been developed primarily by councils, but in developing those, the strategies create very clear connections into other statutory and community providers. So, for example, education authority, schools, local education providers, really having a voice and a say in terms of how the strategy develops. Youth services, particularly important in terms of providing play and recreation opportunities for children as they grow into the teenage years, where play becomes more of recreation, but where the desire to play remains with children. It is important that youth services are there to really provide that connect across as children grow older. The community sector, of course, a critical element within this, is very important in terms of developing a strategy that the community are on board and that the community have a role in terms of developing the strategy, but also in terms of enabling that strategy to be rolled out over time. And I would also mention, a number of other sectors, the disability sector, particularly important in terms of ensuring that play development, play opportunities are developed in an inclusive and an accessible manner. And again, there has been some development over recent years, actually over the last year, at a UK level in terms of looking at how we can enhance accessibility to play. So again, ensuring the disability sector are involved within that. Of course, there are lots of other potential partners and stakeholders within this. We would always, articulate the need for police, for the Garda to be involved within that, because again, there can be misunderstandings around play, antisocial behaviour, what constitutes antisocial behaviour. And if we fundamentally bring everything back to the UN Convention, the government of the Republic of Ireland has an obligation there to deliver the right to play. And it's important that that understanding of the right to play and the importance of the right to play is really embedded at all of these different stakeholder levels. And planning, I have a particular interest in the planning side of things, but certainly in terms of, when we look at how we develop our housing estates, how we develop our residential locations, how much thought do we actually give to play, to spaces for play? How much thought do we actually put into the families and the children who are going to live in those communities and how they're going to grow up? Again, just ensuring that the planning system works for children and young people and really supports the delivery of play opportunities at that local level. Of course, communities really are at the core of the process as well. And, fundamentally, we want to ensure that children and young people are really at the driving end of play strategies, that their voices are heard. You know, ultimately, children and young people know best what they want to play, how they want to play, and what works best for them. So it's critically important that their voices are part of the process and that they have that opportunity to participate, not only in developing the play strategy, but also in as that play strategy rolls out in terms of the operationalization of it. Parents and carers, of course, a critical element within, and community and voluntary sector organisations. So again, just trying to ensure that we have that collective buy-in in terms of play, and really to ensure that those lived experiences of play are very much at the core of the process, and that user reviews of, for example, fixed play parks are really there at the centre of it. Because again, as professionals, we can have a very clear view about how effective a play park is. Children may well and likely will tell us otherwise if we give them the opportunity to voice their opinions. Of course, the barriers I mentioned in the opening part of the session, you know, whilst they're quite generic, there may be very localized issues, localized barriers that are preventing children from accessing play and being able to fulfill their right to play. So again, it's important that children are able to articulate those as part of the process. And of course, to identify their preferred play activities, you know, whether they be fixed, non-fixed, and even just looking at, you know, the types of environments they prefer to play within, and the spaces within their communities, where they would like better access to. Okay, I just want to focus in on two other areas in a wee bit more detail, again, which are a fundamental part of the strategy development process. The first really is play value assessment. Play value assessment is important because, as I say, in the past we have tended to develop play parks in particular using an economic based model. So looking at a budget and essentially fitting an equipment based around that budget. Within the play strategy, play value assessment really has to be at the core of it. And the play value assessment is an assessment of a site, whether it be an existing play park or whether it be a proposed design, against a set of criteria. And those criteria you can see on the right of your screen there. It's looking at location, accessibility issues, it's looking at the environment, it's looking at the physical, creative and the inclusive play opportunities that are actually available within that site itself. And also giving consideration to the social play dynamics of the site and the location. Again, as part of a strategy, you know, fundamentally what we want the strategy to do is to provide a blueprint or a guidance for investment into the future. So by undertaking play value assessments, we're able to then come up with individual recommendations for play parks and play sites, based around the enhancement of play value and based around ensuring that those sites are as accessible, that they are as broad-based in terms of meeting demographic and age need as they can be. And that process is really undertaken through a number of different channels. You know, there's obviously, you know, all councils and all fixed play park providers carry out regular maintenance assessments, there's photographic evidence, site visits, all of which can help to build up a picture of what the true play value of that location is. And of course, ultimately what the process provides is a mechanism for assigning investment priority. So it allows you to then look at, okay, this is where we are in terms of what we have and delivering play. Where do we need to invest? How do we need to invest? And what is the process for doing that? The other bit which is critically important really is undertaking a demographic assessment. So I'm just going to very briefly run through, this is just a couple of maps, and it's really just by way of, I suppose, highlighting what the process looks like. And again, it's really to ensure that when we are targeting investment in play, that investment is targeted at those areas where it is most needed. So this is a process we tend to use within play strategy development. And this is really looking at the location of play parks. So on the map on the screen, you can see the location of play parks. They're all ranked according to their assessed play value, from red, which would be the lowest, play parks which essentially are play parks which really are not fulfilling any role or function at this stage. Play value is so low, right up to those at the upper end of the scale, you know, which would be the high level district, you know, play parks which are offering a wide abundance of valuable play opportunities. The process of demographic review really looks at the location of households within an area. So within a specified zone, it looks at mapping out where households actually are, with the purpose of looking to see, okay, well, where is the actual coverage in terms of play? So what I've done on the map there, I've in this particular location, you have 2 district play parks. I won't get into the detail, but you know, guidance would suggest there's a 1,000 metre catchment radial associated with district play parks. So we put a radial around it and it highlights the households covered by those particular play parks. We then do the same with the smaller levels, so neighbourhood and local play parks. Again, each have an assigned radial catchment population, and that again provides us with an overview of household coverage. And when that's combined, it gives us a sense really of where the potential play gaps are. So you can see those households which are falling within a radial, essentially in theory are having their play need met. Those households which are falling outside of that really are those locations where we need to look at. We need to dig a bit deeper in terms of the children and young people who live there and the level of access they have to play opportunities. Okay, so what's the actual impact of that in terms of play strategies? So again, this is just using a Northern Ireland context, but since 2015, we've supported play strategy development in 6 council areas in Northern Ireland. We've also then supported development within 3 other councils, so we haven't directly delivered, but we've supported them to develop their own. And we've also worked with Kerry County Council in terms of developing the play strategy in the Republic of Ireland. I just wanted to pick out 2 of the councils really, just by way of giving you a sense of what the impact can be. So Armagh, Banbridge and Craigavon currently at the midway point in terms of their play strategy delivery. As a result of the play strategy over the first 4.5 years, they've had 4.5 million of investment, enhancing 36 of their play parks, increasing the level of play value significantly and making those play parks much better in terms of the play experiences children are able to access. And they've appointed a play development officer whose role is really to guide both the capital and the non-capital elements of play within the area. And part of that has resulted in the rollout of community-based non-fixed or free play sessions. So again, essentially seeing that diversification of play delivery. So it's not just about fixed play, it's not just about swings and roundabouts, it's now also about community free play. It's about enabling and supporting communities to deliver their own play sessions within their own area. Another example, Newry, Mourne and Down, again at the midway point, I've seen 5 million of investment attracted onto their play strategy, enhancing 47 play parks in their case. They were a very early adopter of free play, so they over the last number of years have worked with ourselves to roll out summer non-fixed free play sessions, and they're very much targeted at more rural locations, so those locations which currently do not have access to fixed play, but as an organisation, PlayBoard are able to then come along and support the community to deliver high value play sessions within the community over the summer months. And Newry, Mourne and Down, again, recognising the critical role of play in terms of supporting community cohesion, had a focus piece programme which really placed play at the core of addressing community division within the area. Couple of slides just to sort of wrap this up then. So in terms of the Armagh, Banbridge, Craigavon Council, this is just a quick example really of one of the key developments emerging from their play strategy. So this was one of the play parks which would have had a very low play value. You can see the site itself, it was a fairly poor site, very badly. I suppose you could say it was just a very badly abused location, really. It was a site for antisocial behaviour, particularly evenings and weekends. Families really had stopped using it. Children were no longer using the play park itself, and that was down to the antisocial behaviour. You can see the amount of litter there and so on. It just was not an enticing place for playing. The community this play park was located in actually lobbied to have the play park removed in its entirety. The council, through the strategy, were able to engage with them and implemented an upgrade using good practice guidelines. And that really resulted in a complete transformation of the location itself. So they looked to incorporate mounds, they looked to introduce more playful features, they introduced sand. Again, that was the first time I think they had introduced sand as a play material. And as you can see, the use of tires and the focus on using more natural materials in keeping with the rural location. And this is just a few examples from Newry, Mourne and Down. And these are just some pictures really from some of the community free play sections. So again, you will see a lot of the approaches highlighted previously, by Angela and by Catherine. But you can see that it was very much about creating playful opportunities, playful experiences for children of a broad range of ages over those summer months, and really allowing them to engage in a much broader range of play types and developmental play activities. Okay, folks, hopefully you've got something from that element. I'm now going to pass over to Shelley. Shelley is our officer based with NCN in Monaghan and has been very active and very busy in terms of pushing and promoting play on a cross-border basis. And Shelley's now going to just give you a wee bit of an overview into some of the work she's been involved in.
Hi everyone, as Alan said, my name is Shelley and I'm going to tell you about a collaborative partnership that we are undertaking to promote and advocate for play across Ireland with the National Childhood Network in Monaghan. Every child, regardless of their background or community in which they live, has a right to play. Over recent years, working collaboratively, PlayBoard and NCN have developed a cross-border partnership approach aimed at promoting and advocating for the child's right to play across the island of Ireland. This collaborative approach is enhancing play opportunities through play advocacy, policy and strategy development, utilising innovative networking and engagement opportunities, and building strategic partnerships for play. We're working together, we are raising awareness for the importance of play within settings and communities. As part of my role, I develop and deliver CPD for the school-age childcare sector in line with the National Quality Guidelines for school-age childcare. This is all about enhancing children's play opportunities and to support the value of inclusive play and the child's right to play. Over the past 12 months, I have delivered 13 online Zooms to over 300 services and 800 practitioners who are managing services or working directly with school-age childcare children. In July 2022, to mark National Play Day, events took place around Monaghan. Monaghan County Council liaised with organisations across Monaghan, including TUSLA, SIPSI, NCN, LifeStart, PlayBoard, Monaghan Integrated Development and Monaghan Libraries to coordinate a programme of events across the week. After various very successful play events, we identified key stakeholders to assist in exploring the development of play opportunities for children within the local community of Monaghan. We secured funding through the Lego Foundation with their campaign Build a World of Play and set up Let Grow Play clubs. We had over 100 children and parents attend these clubs where we provided a range of resources and loose parts to cater for all age groups. We started the planning process with a children's consultation where they all came together, shared their ideas of what play looked to them and what play opportunities they would like to see. They all designed a poster, which we then collated and made into a flyer for advertising our events. Using a range of locations, we held one in a play park, one in a community building where the children had free flow to indoors and outdoors, and we held one in a library. We facilitated 3 Let Grow Play clubs across Monaghan with an aim of these events to offer free play opportunities to children aged birth to 14. As part of National Science Week in collaboration with Monaghan County Libraries, I was invited to participate in Cavan Monaghan Science Festival Family Day, which took place in November in Monaghan. We had over 2,000 attendees and provided freely chosen play for all ages using a range of natural, recyclable, free and found materials. In March 2023, I delivered a seminar for the Youth Libraries Group. They are an active group within the Library Association of Ireland. The group organised seminars, workshops and lectures relating to the needs of librarians working with children and young people across public and school libraries in Ireland. This is just a little testimonial that I have from Karen McKeag, who is the YLG Secretary. Having worked with Shelley on a previous play initiative at local level, I was keen to bring her insights about play to colleagues nationally through our YLG group series. She expertly guided us on a journey through the essence of play, reminding us of the invaluable role it plays in childhood development and learning. With an engaging and interactive approach, Shelley shared simple yet effective ideas for incorporating play into library spaces. Her enthusiasm was infectious, inspiring us to reimagine our library programming, moving from highly structured facilitated workshops to vibrant, interactive environments that ignite the imagination of children and promote holistic learning experiences. Staff from 118 libraries across Ireland tuned in for the session and the feedback was positive. We are already planning to work with Shelley again to make our libraries more playful. Also in May, we delivered Community Relations and Diversity Through Play workshop for Donegal Sports Partnership. This is just a testimonial from Kirsty Brown, who is the Active Play Project Officer in Donegal Sports Partnership. Donegal Sports Partnership approached PlayBoard to deliver a Community Relations and Diversity Through Play workshop as part of a cross-community, cross-border active play programme. This was successfully delivered by Michelle and Maeve in a fun, informative and interactive workshop. The fantastic feedback from the participants was the reassurance that this is a great link to have, and we will definitely be collaborating in the near future on additional projects. In Monaghan, I have provided play opportunities for over 40 Ukraine children who have recently came to Monaghan as part of a welcoming and information event for Ukrainian families. Again, just using a range of freely chosen resources to offer that freely chosen play. Some upcoming projects that I'll be working on over the next little while. So we are starting a pilot programme with Monaghan Libraries, which is about planning for play on how we will develop the concept of playful libraries using play as a mechanism to enable libraries to become a more fun, interactive community space. I have also just been accepted to become a member of a nationwide panel of facilitators for Hub na Og and the National Participation Offices, which is an initiative of the Department of Children, Equality, Disability, Integration and Youth. We have lots of exciting play events planned across Monaghan for Play Week 2023, including an intergenerational play event, green play and forest play in Rossmore. Thank you all very much. I am now going to hand you over to Angela, who is just going to close.
So thank you, everybody. That is a wrap from us. We're very conscious that we've thrown an awful lot at you today, so thank you for sticking with us. We're also very conscious that there have been internet difficulties on the way through the session, so I hope you got the gist of what we were saying. I'm not going to put the video on. I've been told that when we put the video on the screen where you see our face, that knocks our internet off even more. So bear with me, you just have the contact details on the screen and not me, so that's probably a good thing. We really do want to work in collaboration with the people in the room or the virtual room. When we started planning for today's session, we had toyed with the idea of having breakout rooms, but because we knew we were packing so much into the session, we felt that there probably wouldn't have been time for the breakout rooms, and I'm not sure that our internet might have allowed us to do that anyhow. But we will be sending out a survey within the next few days, and we really would appreciate you filling those out and sending them back to us. They're not your normal evaluation survey. It's not about evaluation on today's session, although you can tell us about the session if you want, but it's really a mechanism to give you the opportunity to engage in the discussion and help us plan out our way forward. So I really would urge you to send those back when you receive them through. It'll probably be early next week. They'll come into your inbox. If you haven't given us your email address when you registered, I'd ask you maybe just to do that now in the chat function if you want to send it privately to us so that we can get the survey out to you. As you've heard throughout the session, hopefully, this is the first in a series of sessions that we plan to run over the next wee while. From September onwards, we hope to host more focused themed sessions. So today was really about giving you a total overview or a showcase of what it is that we do. The themed sessions will focus in more on particular topics. For instance, we'll have a session for schools, session for councils, youth, sporting organisations and so on. So do watch out for those coming out later in the year. In the meantime, if you have any comments or queries, do contact either Shelley or myself. Our details are up there on the screen. And I suppose the last thing to say is just about PlayBoard membership. So I'm not touting for PlayBoard membership. Our membership is free, so that it's not that we're looking for your money. But if you want to join a collective voice advocating for play, I would suggest you join PlayBoard as an organisation. As I said, it won't cost you anything, it's free. And what you'll get from that is updates on play and play news and the play agenda. You'll get our monthly e-play, which comes out to all of our members, really giving an overview on play news over the last month. So that leaves me just to say thank you for joining us. Apologies again for the internet. We're going to go off screen now and have a look and see what our issues are here in the PlayBoard office, what's been happening with the internet today. And thank you for joining us, and we do hope to see you again soon at the further seminars that we're running later in the year. Thank you.